That fade out was way less.
What?
What's the word I'm after? Way less graceful than I'd hoped it would be. Hello, welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old England games and ask just how England was this.
Today, we're covering England's opening game of the 2010 World Cup against the USA, where everything was going perfectly to plan for an inevitable World Cup win for England, right up until it wasn't.
Here we are, the year's 2010. Terry Venables singing his dulcet tones. If he can dream, then we all can.
I remember that being so into that advert. We'll get onto it. But my God, I just thought really to really set the scene, we need to be there, don't we?
Absolutely. So, as Nick explained, 2010 World Cup opener. The World Cup in South Africa, England versus USA. That's the game we're covering today. Before we get into that, a bit of pleasantries in a time capsule. So pleasantries wise, how are you, my friend?
Very, very good, mate. Pod day, always the best day of the week.
Yeah. Pod release day is good.
Yeah, well, that's what this is essentially for everybody else, isn't it? We're the only ones living in this space.
Look, if I can dream, then I will. And I'm going to say that quite a lot today.
Yeah.
Time capsule. Nick, I'm really confused by yours, so I want you to go first because I think it's going to be a little bit more of a lesson. Let's start on an educational note.
Well, all right, and no pressure with this one, but so in 2010, what I'm putting in is strangely the Icelandic volcano Eyjafjallajökull, which erupted, bringing a halt to air travel across Europe.
How many deaths?
0.
That's all right then.
Yeah, when I put this in, you definitely thought this is some awful tragedy or something.
Yeah, it's like putting like a massacre or something in. So, I mean, why is this your favourite eruption?
Well, top 10 of all time, but of this year, I think it's the best. It was just really noticeable, really, and notable because I remember being at university at the time and it kind of happening, and it kind of disrupted football, which I'll get onto a little bit later. But the largest air traffic shutdown since World War II. It did actually affect some football, and strangely enough, Dan Snow tried to a strange Dunkirk-style retrieval of people from abroad in a boat.
Now, I should probably know this, but who is Dan Snow?
Oh, he's like some form of a presenter, historian kind of person. It just seemed very weird and like
a stunt.
Look at me kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even get I don't think the French even let him in fairness, I wouldn't have either at that point.
It's like I've brought about 100 boats with me.
It was just him. It was just a couple of people in boats and stuff. But yeah, it was just a very, very strange time. I mean, even looking at the word written out for that. I mean, I'm doing my best with Eyjafjallajökull, but can you imagine what our friend from Poland 73 would have made of that? The commentator, he was just, I think his head would have just popped, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of noises, and I don't know if that makes sense in order. Sorry, we try to get through these relatively quickly, especially when there's so much to talk about as there is today. But why does a volcano in Iceland result in a halt to air travel across all of Europe? Or is that a stupid question?
No, just because the ash cloud that came from it just swept across Europe, and it didn't actually affect Iceland that much. It's just kind of when it, like a blanket across
Why
Europe.
Why did you say ash cloud? Everyone knows the ash cloud.
The ash cloud. Do you know what it is now? The ash cloud.
I remember people going, "That ash cloud's mad, isn't it?"
Yeah, just like yep, he is. Yep, whatever Ash has been up to.
Well, thank you for that. So I take it that our time capsule or this alternative universe that we're creating, there's no more air flight there?
No, not at this point, no. I mean, maybe there's just a really good flight that I'll put in at some point.
Yeah, the antidote.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, mine's a bit of a weird one. I struggled to find much for 2010. Not much happening. I mean, there was a general election.
Yeah, but it's just dull to put that kind of stuff, is it?
Never putting that stuff in.
No.
This isn't dull. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26, the retirement match of HBK.
Very good, yeah. I do kind of remember this, actually. I remember falling out of other wrestling for a long time and not watching it, and then going back into just seeing, oh, that's happening at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was, again, like you, lapsed fan, completely out of love with the sport. It is a sport.
The business.
Yeah. And then just hearing people saying, oh, this Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker is actually the best match of all time. And I was like, well, that's a joke because they're both really old. And then I watched it, the first one, and I was like, shit, that actually might be like
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
match that I've seen, even though I hadn't watched it for years. I was just like, that is incredible. And they that was WrestleMania 25, but in 2010 they did it again at WrestleMania 26.
Was it as good?
I think the generally perceived wisdom is that it wasn't as good as the first one, but still good.
Yeah, still a notable event, really.
And I think the main reason I put it back in there is it did kick off what would become a running theme for the rest of my life up until now, which is every now and then giving two hoots about WrestleMania or wrestling.
Just dipping back in as a curiosity and an interest. I think we're both going to struggle as we go on, because I think 2010 is quite a noteworthy year for England, and
Yeah,
I think we may have to go back into a couple of more games from the tournament. So
yeah.
I think we're going to be scraping the barrel by the end aren't
For the
we?
time capsule.
If we've already got a volcanic ash and something that you've only got a passing interest in, we've really got to struggle.
Well, that's the time capsule then. A bit of dust and two old blokes having a fake fight.
Basically dust as well.
Basically bone dust. We got so much to talk about today, so let's crack on to the state of football. Outside of international football, 2010 was a very entertaining year. I remember this being probably the peak of my footballing fandom. It was my first year at university, and I got Sky Sports for the first time in my life, so it was watching every game. I was betting all the time, which is ridiculous to say, but it is actually true. Let's start at the top of the Premiership. Chelsea. This was the Chelsea absolute peak for me. Well, probably the peak for me. Maybe the start of Jose, but 2010 they were under Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah. So they won the Premier League that year, scoring a league high at that point of 103 goals. Near the end of the campaign, they were just smashing teams about. They beat Villa 7-1, Portsmouth 5-0, Stoke 7-0, and then before sealing the title on the last day with an 8-0 thumping of Wigan.
I won so much money on that 8-0 thumping of Wigan.
Really?
I was betting live in play, and it was just like, bet so and so. I think Ashley Cole might have even scored a goal in that game.
I think you're right, yeah.
And I'm sure we had him to score any time. Genuinely talking like hundreds and hundreds of pounds by the end of that. But 103 goals, so I'm presuming that's been beaten by Liverpool or Man City now.
I feel like City have done that since. I don't know if Liverpool have, but I think City will have. I mean, at the time, I remember when it happened, because you look at that, 8 goals on the last day to get to over 100 as well. And there was only 1 point in the title race, actually. So it was the race itself was a lot closer, even though Chelsea were just smashing teams by the end. So they came above Man United by 1 point, and Wayne Rooney was kind of on his own, firing on all cylinders to get them towards the title.
Well, there's going to be a lot of Rooney chat today. Chelsea also looked to retain the FA Cup and complete their first ever league and cup double in a final against Portsmouth. What happened there, Nick?
Yeah, Chelsea unbelievably missed an open goal and hit the frame of the goal 4 times in the opening 40 minutes. I watched the highlights back, and it was just a crazy, crazy game. I remember watching it in the pub, but I don't remember all these incidents whatsoever.
No, nor do I. God, Portsmouth, they've been knocking about, haven't they, on a few of these podcasts?
I think so. I think it's that sweet spot, isn't it, of when they would get promoted and the money comes in. But yeah, Portsmouth were awarded a penalty in the second half, which Kevin Prince Boateng, another very 2010 name, isn't it, missed, only for Chelsea to take the lead through Didier Drogba's free kick 3 minutes later.
Wembley King.
Yeah, exactly. How many finals did he score in for Chelsea? Just a magnificent player. Frank Lampard also missed a penalty late on. Good that he got that out of his system before the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And but Chelsea became only the 7th English side to do the double.
Is that club or like side? If that makes sense, like...
So they would be, that was their first ever double, and they joined, like Man United and Arsenal have both done doubles, but that would only count as one team that have done it, one club side have done it. So yes, Chelsea became the 7th team to do that.
Well, I mentioned that Portsmouth have knocked about in the background in some of these state of football stories that we cover, but I think this is probably where the iceberg gets hit. They're relegated that year, docked 9 points for entering administration, relegated alongside Burnley and Hull. Yeah, a wild ride.
Yeah, just the start of their
Is this a bit of Avram Grant, do you reckon? I can't remember who got them relegated.
Yeah, it would have been Avram Grant. I think the next year he took the West Ham job and took them down as well. But it only came 2 years after he got Chelsea to a Champions League final. So just one of the strangest managerial careers ever.
And yeah, speaking of Champions League finals, I love this is great. Golden memories for me is this Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan team treble, right?
Yeah, become the first Italian team to ever win the treble. They beat Bayern Munich 2-0 in the final of the Champions League.
It was such a nothing game, really, wasn't it? Just Inter just casually doing it. It was all about the Barcelona semi final. I think if you're looking for the real drama of that year.
Yeah, definitely. They go into the second leg at the new camp, leading 3-1 from the first. After Barca's players and staff had to take the journey via coach.
Is this
to
because of the
Milan
ash cloud?
Because of the ash cloud. So they were all having to, however long that is. It's a long, long way. I think they had to go through mountains and all sorts to get to Milan as well. But 3-1 up from the first leg, Barca losing there. Inter had Thiago Motta sent off at the new camp, in the first half from memory. And thanks to some Busquets doing some very Busquets things, holding his face and peeking through his hands to check if the referee had sent Motta off.
Yeah, well, it was the reverse fixture, right? That was the big one.
Yeah. So that's the one where Inter go down to 10 men, and Mourinho called it his most magnificent defeat ever because they only lost 1-0. The goal came quite late as well, but they pretty much spent most of the game without the ball and not wanting the ball, even when they had it. Even when they had the ball, they said that their tactic was to dribble towards Barcelona because they thought, well, if they dribble towards us, they're going to try and foul us because that was the idea of winning the ball back, pressing, and you foul if you don't get it back in the first 5 seconds. And Inter just took their time with it, really.
Do you think this Inter Milan achievement is Jose Mourinho's greatest ever achievement?
You'd probably say so, yeah. I think his Real Madrid side were, fantastic as well, who won the league from Barcelona a couple of years after this as well. But I think just, it's one of my favourite sides. It's one of yours from what you've said as well. They had flair players in Snyder, Eto'o and Maicon, and then just tough blokes as well in Cambiasso, Lucio, Samuel and Zanetti.
And they really were kind of underdogs for a while before this, so it fits Mourinho like a glove. But we thought that about other clubs later on in his career, but the magic seems to have gone.
Yeah, it seems like it. I think it's these certain circumstances. Like he went into it with something to prove, where they'd be winning league titles, but just couldn't get over that next stage in Champions League games, which is what he got brought in for, and just changed the team entirely, bringing someone like Diego Milito in. I mean, he was the player for them that year. He scored in their final league game, the Italian Cup final, and the Champions League final. I mean, what more can you do there?
No, wow. So that's the club football covered. We got a lot of build up to do for this World Cup 2010 opening game for England and the USA. So USA CONCACAF, is that the
CONCACAF? I think
CONCACAF.
that is. Yeah.
That's how they have to qualify. This looks like a bit of a crazy one. They top the group. And Nick, can you give us a little bit more detail on how USA got to this tournament?
Yeah. So I think in CONCACAF qualifying, you have to go through a couple of group stages depending on your seedings, a bit like the FA Cup, but then in league format. So you get put into a final group if you get through your previous groups. And then the USA topped their group, their final one here, winning 6 and drawing 2 of their 10 games, progressing to the tournament with Mexico, Honduras, and Costa Rica, I think, joined them as well.
Honduras?
Yeah. Honduras is a bit of a throwback, isn't it?
I don't remember them at the 2010 World Cup.
No, but they, Jose Altidore had been their top scorer in qualifying with 6 goals, and they also had big contributions from people like Landon Donovan, Michael Bradley, Brian Ching, and this would be the US's 6th consecutive World Cup appearance.
Michael Bradley, son of the manager,
Bob. Yeah, Bob Bradley as well.
Bit of nepotism.
Yeah, I think he was a useful player.
No, of course.
Bradley. Yeah. It was just it's just strange seeing a manager pick his own son, and for the right reasons, actually.
6 World Cups in a row for America.
Yeah, I think they hosted one of them as well. It may be, I think it's 5 or 6 in a row, maybe their 6th appearance overall. But I think they're just a real staple into the World Cup now. When they didn't qualify for 2018, it just felt like something wasn't right really with the tournament. It's a bit like when Netherlands don't qualify, you just think it's not a proper World Cup without them and their fans in it.
Well, they're at the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, I don't think any fans are going to be there, so it's slightly different. But I think it's always good to see them. Same with Mexico. I mean, Mexico always seem to qualify and get knocked out at the first knockout stage, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, but well, we're gonna have another England USA game this year.
Yeah, hence the reason for us taking a little look into this one. I mean, this is a really really good period for the USA football. I mean, they took part in the Confederations Cup the year before. They beat Spain 2-0 in the semi-final, ending Spain's long winning streak, and would play Brazil in that final too.
That's good going. Well done, USA. And yeah, so a bit of experimentation just prior to the tournament with the squad, but there's some really good players in that squad, as we've already mentioned. England now, England are managed at this point in time by Fabio Capello,
Yeah.
who had come in to replace Steve McLaren.
Yeah, he did after the failure to qualify for Euro 2008.
Spoiler for a podcast we haven't done,
Yeah,
and something that happened 14 years ago.
I mean we've probably mentioned Wally with a brolly on most podcasts anyway, haven't we? So it's just such a memorable moment.
The Capello era is a really strange one. Obviously, we're going to cover a key game in that era today. But qualifying for this World Cup, really straightforward, especially when you consider that England didn't qualify for 2008, as we just mentioned, the Euros, thanks in part to a bad result against Croatia, who we also had in our group for 2010 qualifying. Bloody Croatia, we never stop playing them, do we?
No, we never stop talking about them either. It seems that they always pop up. Yeah, England recorded standout results against Croatia, winning 4-1 in Zagreb. Theo Walcott getting.
I remember
hat-trick.
that game. That was like a proper yes.
Yeah,
Have it. We've got Theo Walcott now.
this is going to change everything. Should have played him last time, but no. And yeah, he got a hat trick in that game, and in the return game, England won 5-1 at Wembley against Croatia. Just an absolute thumping.
Yeah, so qualified with 2 games to spare. That's good going. That's very well done, Fabio Capello. I think he's onto something here.
I think as well when he came in, it was seen as like right, finally, tough taskmaster for these bloody overplayed players and all that kind of stuff, and bit of discipline in them because they'd had Sven, Keegan, McLaren, guys that kind of you feel that you could maybe walk over an England player.
Yeah.
I think we kind of cover England a bit more in this game, you see that even the media are scared of him. Even like commentators are just like, sorry, Fabio.
Did he always have this, or is it just? Did he always have that reputation, or was it more just like we weren't used to seeing it, so it seemed? Or by the time he'd come to England, he wanted to accentuate that part of him because he thought that would get the best out of the team.
I think he'd always done that, especially once he got success and he kind of took it to the next level. I remember hearing stories about when he was at Roma and they won a league title. He was so angry at Cassano, he'd be like chasing him around the training pitch trying to hit him, and he just seemed like a bit of a tough taskmaster and a bit of a loon. But it was absolutely working. England with world class players, with a world class manager going into a tournament, you just think, well, yeah, this could be it.
Well, we've really smooth sailing in the qualifying group, but now we're going to cover a lot of speed bumps in the road. It's surprising to look back and think just how much, not I don't want to say trauma, how much sort of batshit craziness there was around this squad leading into the tournament. We're going to start with Wayne Rooney. As we mentioned earlier, Wayne Rooney, obviously, England's talisman pretty much throughout his time, even when he was young and sort of towards the end of his career. You had to play Rooney. He was the talisman. This is him at his absolute peak, form of his life for Man United. 34 goals in all competitions, winning PFA and Reuters Player of the Season. He was the main striker because Tevez and Ronaldo had just left. So it was all placed on him, and he was more than meeting that challenge until a game in which he was absolutely bossing as well against Bayern Munich in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think we watched this game together, actually. I do remember. I do remember this. Yeah, his season was derailed when he had an ankle injury, ankle ligament injury, actually, in this Champions League game. And he was never really the same player again, actually, I don't think.
I would agree with that.
Because when he was playing up front as a central striker, he said he actually didn't like playing up there because he wasn't as used to getting the ball and he just had to wait for his time. But in that period, it was just seemed that every single game, it was him in that United kit with gloves on, receiving a header, just smashing it in. And yeah, he was brilliant at that point. But Ferguson tried to rush him back for the return leg against Bayern, and he only lasted 50 minutes and had to bring him off. And yeah, came back to finish the season, but just never looked right. And yeah, we're entering this period now of it being peak injury problems for England.
Yeah, and just to say there, It's not the first time, is it?
No.
England, like say from what 2002. I feel like, and we're in 2010 here. Even in 2014, there's always big injuries just prior to tournaments. I think we've been lucky in the last two that we haven't really had any.
No, and if they have, they've not been key players. They've kind of been like selection headaches that have gone away. Like Trent Alexander-Arnold before the Euros was saying, well, where are you going to get him in the
Oh,
team?
yeah,
Are you
yeah.
going to play him? And actually, he was injured in a friendly in the build-up. So he was like, well, there's almost an issue there. We don't have to deal with anymore. Well, we've got James and Walker and Trippier as
Trippier.
well.
Well, unfortunately for Fabio Capello, he's got more than one injury headache with Wayne Rooney, which is already an absolute blinder behind the eyes. He's already on the paracetamol for that. You might have to have some night nurse when you look at the rest of the injury problems. Let's start with the strikers.
Yeah, so England seemed to have some good striking options going into the tournament, where even Darren Bent, who'd scored 24 goals at Sunderland that year, didn't get a call up whatsoever.
Wow, where did he go from Sunderland to Villa?
I think so, yeah. It was a bit of a sideways move from him. I think he'd fallen out with the manager maybe, and it was just like, wow, Villa are getting him for what was a lot of money, because I think he'd been at Tottenham. Then he went to Sunderland and really, really shone.
Yeah. So Darren Bent's not getting a call up, not an injury problem, but Michael Owen, who is the walking injury problem, he was perhaps in with a shout of going to the tournament.
Yeah. I remember this. He was in brilliant form for Man United. His first season there, really, really catching the eye. But after starting and scoring in the League Cup final, Owen's season was ended with an injury, and that was it. The call-up was out.
And now the big one for me, because this guy was having an absolute incredible season. Oh, amazing. Under future England manager Roy Hodgson.
Yeah.
Bobby Zamora. Europa League final with Fulham.
Yeah.
Smashing in the goals. All-round play, brilliant. Form of his life, injured.
Yeah, injured. I mean, 29, he still hadn't had a cap before the tournament. So you think, okay, maybe he wouldn't have got a call up. But I just remember him being so good, and he just had tendon problems in the build up. So he was out of consideration before even. You're talking about slight fringe players here, but they're still people you think maybe they could come on and change something. But maybe in hindsight, you're looking at Crouch, who was doing well at Villa, that was doing well at Spurs. You've got Heskey, who really revitalised his England career under Capello. He hadn't had a sniff for years, and he really became a bit of a focal man for England.
Yeah. Speaking of focal men for England and centre points and injuries, David Beckham, this is a very interesting one. A very, very, very interesting one. And one of the strangest stories, I think, of Beckham's career. I mean, he built a career around overcoming setbacks, and when people thought that he was done, he would always come back, and this was like the last hurrah for that. He'd found it. So let's start a little bit earlier. He was dropped. No, he resigned as captain, didn't he? In around 2006.
Yeah, after the World Cup campaign, he resigned as captain, just saying it was time for someone else to do it, and he couldn't really do it anymore. He didn't retire from international football. But
Strange, isn't it, that?
yeah, I think you, again.
I think he just maybe is going, look, Gaffer, you don't have to pick me. I'll be available.
Yeah, if you need me, I'm here. But actually, this is going to become too much for me, and maybe I can't lead the team anymore. And McLaren, when he became manager, didn't pick him at first. He kind of wanted a clean slate, which you can see, and you understand why maybe he's done it, because he doesn't want that baggage and the emotional scars of people like Beckham still in the team after all these years. But as it wasn't going well for Euro 2008 qualification, McLaren recalled him to try and help out with that. Just going back on his decisions and just maybe not being that strong point. But it was a good suggestion and a thing to do, because I think Beckham came back and played very well for England at that point.
Absolutely. He maybe just needed a break. I remember being very pro, let's not keep him in the squad, because he was... I felt like he'd gone as far as he could, and his lack of pace was being shown up badly by our alternatives in that position.
And even at Real Madrid at the time, he was kind of becoming a bit of a fading force. Like they'd got the Galactico era was ending at Real Madrid. They were having new players that came in. Like you still had Raul there, but people like Robinho, Van Nistelrooy, they were kind of taking those big spots away from Beckham.
With Real Madrid, was Fabio Capello Beckham's manager at Real Madrid?
He was, yeah. So Capello, when he came into England, kept Beckham in the team after Beckham had won him over with his attitude and determination in winning back his place in the Madrid's team, because...
That's probably one of the prime examples, isn't it? Because he was quite key to them winning a title, I think, after being, like you say, forced to train with the reserves, or
Yeah. So I remember it was Ronaldo and Beckham were told to, we don't want you part of the team anymore. Just get away. And Ronaldo obviously just went, "Pff, no problem. I'll absolutely just go and train with Beckham and have a walk around." But Beckham took that as a slight, because with the issue with Beckham was that he'd signed for LA Galaxy and kind of announced it and just said, "Well, I'm going to go at the end of the season there." So, my Madrid career is over. But Capello just was so impressed that he really wanted to bring him back, and played a pivotal role in them winning the league.
not to cast any doubt on Ronaldo's professionalism, but
Yeah.
I can imagine Beckham being fully committed, even if he's leaving at the end of the season. So Capello keeps Beckham, and Beckham then is at LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
Right.
He goes to LA Galaxy, and then because he wants to play when their off season is happening, he gets 2 loan moves to AC Milan, and I remember him again doing really, really well there.
Yeah, and that was it. The talk was 2010 World Cup, new role for David Beckham, sort of an impact sub, a lot of experience. Clearly, he's a leader.
Yeah.
He's loved by the fans. He's liked by his teammates.
I don't think you ever hear a bad word said about Beckham by his teammates. And
don't.
you always hear Roy Keane he will always stick up for him to say he was a top quality player. He was always a professional. Always did his job. Obviously, Roy Keane would be so into that. But yeah, you don't hear bad stories about him as a professional at all there.
Unfortunately, it's another injury. He tears his left Achilles tendon in March, ruled out of the squad. Or he was in tears, wasn't he? Because he knew already it was his last World Cup, and he, if England weren't to get out of the group, he might not have even had a kick if he were to go. But for it to 100% be you're not going, your body will not recover in time for this World Cup. And playing for his country clearly meant so much to Beckham. There's sad pictures of him in tears at the time. I think it meant more than missing his loan spell at AC Milan and letting LA Galaxy down.
I think as well. I think it was when Beckham had easily thought, well, that's the end of my England career under McLaren. I won't go to another tournament. May not play for England again. And then you just get that dangled in front of you of, actually, I could go to a World Cup. I could make an impact again. I could try and help the team out and, not be a starring role, and actually a role that really suited him at that point. But it's like you say, it's just taken away. And he does go along to the World Cup with the England side as a non-playing role. So he does sit on the bench for England, and we see him a lot in this game, actually.
It's strange, but it's not that strange. I think it's strange because it's not done. Nobody does it like that. Nobody takes an experienced player who's maybe just retired or has had to sit out because of injury. But I don't see any problem with it. I mean, it depends what kind of influence they're going to be. Could you imagine taking Wayne Rooney to Russia in 2018?
Could you imagine taking Paul Gascoigne if he was injured? Just an absolute nuisance around the area.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it is silly. I think because it's David Beckham, I think that makes it a big thing. If it was a squad player who'd been injured and you go out, you probably wouldn't even see him on the sidelines, would you? But it's him in a suit on the sidelines, and you go, wow.
Yeah, but you do go, wow.
Yeah.
Looks fantastic, fair play to him. But maybe it was also Capello recognising the disconnect between him being Italian and obviously the English playing squad, and thinking, well, he knows these guys, and if maybe I'm flying a bit too much off, or if he's somebody to bounce ideas off, and maybe he trusted him as like a bit of a left hand or right hand man.
I think so, definitely.
But it doesn't stop there, mate. It doesn't stop there. Gareth Barry had become a pivotal.
Yeah. Playing in the pivot. He was.
Oh, it took me about 5 times. Gareth Barry had become key for England in the lead up to the World Cup in 2010, playing that role that we have cried out for so often in the past. Yeah. Michael Carrick's never given a chance, but Gareth Barry was playing for Manchester City at this time and had really, worked his way into that squad and was pretty much a guaranteed starter.
Absolutely. I think it'd been a problem for years of where do you play Lampard and Gerrard quite a lot. I mean, Capello had not fallen on, but he'd worked out a system where actually if you had Gareth Barry sitting, Frank Lampard going forward, I think he'd play kind of Gerrard on the left and then Rooney behind Heskey, and then Gerrard and Rooney would swap. There was always a lot of cover back there as well.
Yeah, and he definitely contributed to a really successful qualifying campaign, but Barry gets injured as well, leading to some crazy. Well, he's injured, but he still makes the squad, I think.
He does, yeah. So Gareth Barry still goes, but because of his injury, then England need to think, all right, well, what else are we going to do here? And, do we need to like patch up this squad with some other players?
Yeah, and Capello seemed to want experience, shall we say, because I'd completely forgotten about these stories, but absolutely all true. SOS calls, shall we say.
Yeah.
Capello was looking at this squad that he's qualified for the World Cup with and thinking, these need some really old, not committed players who vocally express their lack of interest about playing for England.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just what you need in the squad now, isn't it? Especially when you've got someone who wants to be there and David Beckham not able to play.
Yeah. Just let's get these boys in. So, Jamie Carragher.
Yeah.
Let's start with Jamie Carragher. He's called up into the squad. I mean, he literally has said that I'm not slandering the man. He said that he didn't enjoy playing for England, right?
Yeah, I think because Carragher kind of grew up and came into the England squad in an era where he just couldn't get a game for England. So you had Ferdinand, Terry, and Sol Campbell all in front of him straight away. And then you got players, players we're going to mention in a moment, also playing around there. I mean, Jonathan Woodgate barely ever played for England. I know he was injured a lot, but so yeah, Carragher just kind of said he was never really. He liked playing for England, but it was never like he missed the penalty in 2006, and he kind of said he's glad he did it for England and not Liverpool.
Oh, right. He retired from international in 2006.
Yeah, after that miss pretty much at the tournament.
The following year, Ledley King retired, and here's another one who makes the squad following one of these calls. Strange, so strange. Ledley King, I mean, famously very, very injury prone. I'll put it in the notes for later on during the game, but there is a point the commentator makes, which we may as well say it now. It's known and commented on during the game, which spoilers, sorry, Ledley King starts, he's unable to play kickabout in the garden with his children.
Yeah.
But Fabio Capello's going, get him in for the World Cup. There's one more, well, there's even more actually, but Paul Scholes was one that he tried to get. I mean, Paul Scholes had retired from England 6 years prior to this, 2004.
After the Euros, this was still in the Sven era.
Is this the era when he's come back from retirement, or I think that might have been but he's approaching his retirement.
Yeah. I think in the summer he'd only just signed a 1-year extension with Man United. He'd had a really good end of the season, actually, coming back and playing really well for Man United. But, a lot deeper back than what he'd been playing when he was first with the England team, and maybe thinking actually we do need him to keep the ball, but. Scholes declines the call up as Capello didn't contact him directly and instead left it to Stuart Pearce and Franco Baldini. I mean, don't leave something to Stuart Pearce. Yeah,
if you want a job done, do it yourself, Fabio. But definitely good for Paul Scholes. I mean, he successfully came back from retirement with Man United, but so strange. And there's even more. So Gareth Barry gets injured, and Capello, he's thinking, are there any midfielders playing in the Premier League for England? That I can try, or should I maybe bring in a young player? Owen Hargreaves is my man, actually.
Yeah, so just check his minutes of competitive football this season. 1
minute of competitive football in the season. I mean, what was he hoping for? He'd missed 113 matches over 20 months.
I mean, it's even madder saying it out loud, isn't it, than reading it?
And Ferguson had to break the news to him, didn't he? So Capello had probably sounded him out. Do you think he was just like rinsing the FA for the lunches, and he's like, lunch at the Ivy, it's an Owen Hargreaves call. If you know, you know.
Put it on the expenses. Hargreaves, knee.
Yeah. 5 bottles of wine.
Yeah, Ferguson at one of these lunches said that Hargreaves' knee couldn't even hold up a training session, let alone a World Cup. So that idea was axed, thankfully.
Yeah, imagine him saying that. I'm thinking about your boy Owen Hargreaves, and he goes, it's like the guy who played like 1 minute this season.
He literally came on in injury time, in Hargreaves' time, just to mop up the midfield. But yeah, it doesn't stop there, does it?
There's 3 more. 3 more.
So there's the other Crocs and the OAPs that Capello looked to bring into the squad were Gary Neville, Sol Campbell, and Phil Neville. All of them last playing for England in 2007.
What a way to demoralise your squad is to just get every injured player from the last decade and just go, I want him in, and your place is under threat, Glenn Johnson, because I want Gary and Phil Neville in that right back position.
You get into the level of, come on, it doesn't say Benson and Hedges on the back of this, does it?
Truly. I definitely wanted Sol Campbell to go, though.
Was he?
It was very much. He'd gone back to Arsenal, hadn't he?
Oh, yeah, I think he may have actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just it was definitely heart over head. It's the same
Yeah.
with Michael Owen. I really wanted Michael Owen to go, but
I remember we were so big into Michael Owen at the point and just found him so funny that we just thought, yeah, Beckham and Owen linking back up at a World Cup. What's not to like?
but out of all of those, I mean, Carragher, Sol, and Owen are the only ones really playing in the Prem with any sort of regularity. Michael Owen not playing that much. Carragher presumably playing quite a lot.
I think King was playing quite a bit and well for Spurs. I think the problem was always at any point he could become injured. I mean, you'd hear stories about when he would be at Spurs, literally not train all week, pretty much come in, get treatment, and he'd play on a Saturday, and he'd be the best player on the pitch. So you think, all right, maybe there's cover there. You bring him in for someone, but at that point, it's just so dangerous.
Yeah, our one centre back who is definitely going to start is John Terry,
Dad of the year at this time as well.
Dad of the Year.
Yeah.
That is still doing that.
I don't know, was it Daddy Sauce that did that? This is the era we're in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Daddy Sauce, Dad of the Year.
Absolutely mental. The start of the banter era, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
And I guess you don't really get any piece of footballing history. It's not really footballing history, whatever you want to call it. That's like used as banter as much as John Terry and Wayne Bridge,
Yeah, yeah.
and that whole situation, which clouds this tournament's build up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, start of 2010, John Terry was the England captain, who had been appointed by Capello on straight away when he took the job.
Which seemed super sensible after Beckham.
Oh, yeah,
John
definitely.
Terry's going to be the man. He's the heart on his sleeve, solid centre back who's going to start.
He may have even been the captain under McLaren from memory. I think in McLaren's first game, he may have been captain. I remember him scoring in it, but I think that was we're sticking with him. I think Gerrard in his first game, because Terry was unavailable, was captain under Capello, but I think he thought, like, centre half, leader, let's see how this gets.
Yeah. Well, we all know really what happened with Wayne Bridge and John Terry. I don't think we have to go too much into it, but it does lead to a very famous moment where they refuse to shake hands with one another, or maybe more accurately, Wayne Bridge refuses to shake John Terry's hand.
Very much within his rights, isn't he? After kind of what happened with the partners, but yeah, in a tense game at Stamford Bridge, Terry and Bridge, now at Man City, played each other and didn't shake hands. And I think City won that day as well. They kind of took Chelsea apart in the title race between Man United and Chelsea anyway.
So Wayne Bridge gets the moral victory.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
it was all super injunctions and madness and
I don't want to shake your hand and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? How Mark Hughes isn't in here somewhere. I don't know. He's a famous non-handshaker, isn't he? When he's annoyed.
But the end result of that for England is Rio Ferdinand is named as captain. It was a huge debate over whether this should mean John Terry shouldn't be England captain. I remember. I'm not sure what my opinion was. I was probably on the side of. Well, I'm trying to think if I'm just talking me now or when I was back.
What would you say if that happened today with the captain of England is kind of caught up in a thing with a teammate or whatever?
My thing would be you have to either drop him, like take the captaincy and drop him, or just go. It is what it is. It's personal. He hasn't committed a crime.
He's not committed a crime, but it's that thing of trust in a dressing room and all that kind of stuff, isn't it?
And Wayne Bridge, I mean,
are you just thinking of that 2005 game when he wasn't very good and he played for a year? I mean,
was he good at this time?
I mean, he played well for England. I don't think he'd ever really let England down here. He didn't play well in that one game we've watched, but he isn't in the squad at this point because he's at City, and there is better competition for that left back spot with Ashley Cole.
It just makes that decision look a bit more shady, I think. If one's your captain and one's like a player
I'm not going to play you anymore, so kind of I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's like, why would I drop John Terry if I'm not going to play you anyway?
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
I'm choosing Terry.
But
over you. It's that phone call, isn't it?
Rio ends up being the captain, more on him to come. A bit of absolute madness and something that really, 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 really did shine a negative light on England and Fabio Capello in particular is the Capello Index.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember that? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I remember the name. I think it was some sort of thing that he was going to launch. Basically, they were going to announce the 30-man squad in May for the preliminary squad, and then on the eve of it, he was going to launch his thing he put his name to called the Capello Index, which is essentially like a ranking system of all the players that were going into the World Cup, a bit like Opta. I think Opta had kind of started gaining traction around this point with stats and things like that.
Right. But what? So, but it really affected Capello, didn't it? And this was almost. Um, I think from memory there was discussions as to whether he would be sacked prior to the World Cup as a result of this.
I think there was becoming the idea of tension around it. I mean, I think that there was this, and they agreed that they'd actually put it off until August because really, you're ranking all the players. I mean, it's got your name to it. How much he actually thought or put into it, it's a bit unclear. But you're putting your name to this thing. You're essentially ranking your own squad as well, and the people that you're picking.
Yeah, like Heskey might see himself like 40 places below Wayne Rooney or something like that, and be like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much you actually do rate me, or am I just...
We're both up front here.
Yeah, Owen
We're
Hargreaves at number 2, best players in the world. Michael Carrick's like,
definitely. Yeah, they'd agreed it'd wait till August, but at the same time, Capello was having some issues with his contract. There was a clause in there that said that he and the FA, whichever one decided it, could cut the contract after the World Cup if certain demands weren't met, but in the build-up, it started being like, well, he deserves a new contract because England have just flown through their qualifying group, got there, one of the best teams around, and they'd kind of agreed to take that out. But in the discussions, tensions were really high at this point.
So we're approaching the start of the World Cup, and there's still quite a lot of madness to cover. We have a few friendlies. One of those, Nick, which me and you attended.
We did actually. It's the one time we've been to an England game together, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico, England win 3-1, but
Ledley King scored that day. I'm pretty damn sure of it.
I think a guy next to us who was a Spurs fan was just like, Ledley's going to score here, and he did, and he just didn't shut up about it for the rest of the game. I do remember that, actually.
Well, we can always say, we saw Ledley King score for England.
I know,
so that's a little bit of a positive.
It's a bit strange even before that, though, because England start their preparation with the squad, going to Austria for a week, training in high intensity and high altitude just because it would be what they would get in South Africa. Then they go back to England for this friendly. Then they go back to Austria to play another friendly against Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that game as well, actually. Now, did you say Tom Huddleston playing?
Tom Huddleston played, and England were just stunningly unconvincing in that game. It took 2 Japanese own goals, actually, for England to even win the game. It was shocking.
Right. I'm just thinking, have we got this in or not? Didn't England... We'll get to it if we're going to get to it. Didn't they play some... Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up. Oh, God, there's still more. The squad ends up being announced then. Should we go through the squad? Because
Well, there's one final omission here as well, just before we get to the squad. So once they got to South Africa, after they left Austria for a second time, during the last minutes of England's first training session, Captain Rio Ferdinand suffered a knee ligament injury after a challenge from Emil Heskey, ruling him out of the tournament.
Well, there you go. It can't get much worse, can it?
It just can't. Capello called it the curse of the captain. I just think, well, it's not really the captaincy, is it?
No, and John Terry's absolutely fine, but he doesn't have a centre-back part. All right, let's have a look at the squad, and then we can really assess the damage that all these injuries have taken. Goalkeepers, David James, Rob Green, Joe Hart. Okay.
Yeah.
Defenders, John Terry, Matthew Upson, Jamie Carragher, Ledley King, Michael Dawson, Glenn Johnson, Ashley Cole, Stephen Warnock.
Yeah.
Not Neil Warnock.
No, not Neil's son either, unfortunately. I'd love to see that.
Do you want to do the midfield?
Yeah. So you've got Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Gareth Barry, James Milner, Michael Carrick, Aaron Lennon, Joe Cole, and Sean Wright-Phillips were your midfielders.
Yeah, and the 4 strikers, Peter Crouch, Wayne Rooney, Jermaine Defoe, and Emil Heskey. That's the tournament squad. That injury to Rio Ferdinand there is huge.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, John Terry and Rio Ferdinand with some strength in depth of Jamie Carragher, Matthew Upson, and what have you, is... We have to find somebody to start alongside John Terry.
Yeah, you've got your captain and, your best centre-half maybe playing. Now, one of them's not captain
And
anymore.
they're both like in the, there would be no reason to think that their particularly injury prone and couldn't last the World Cup tournament.
I think Rio had a couple of injuries in the season building up, but he'd got himself fitting into a situation where he could play more. I think he still wasn't quite managing his body at this point yet, but yeah, but you've got, as you say, you've got the cover of the recently resurrected Ledley King and Jamie Carragher in there as well. But you go into the first game, you're like, well, who's going to play with Terry?
Yeah, that's a strange squad. The camp, this is a famous World Cup camp for England. They are near Rustenburg, Highveld.
Yeah, High Velf's where they were.
They wanted to get away from the publicity which had surrounded them when they'd stayed in Baden-Baden for the 2006 World Cup. Obviously, that's particularly famous. The players and partners had been going out for meals and drinks, and it was a bit of a media circus. This time, Capello wanted to put his stamp on things, and it was all about focus, professionalism, and being completely quiet and relaxed.
Well, yeah, relax. I mean, so he said that the partners would not be with the squad; they'd be staying somewhere else. And he said, "No, absolutely not. Please, we are there to play, not for a holiday."
Do England partners? I think they'll probably just have them come out for a bit now, right? They're not there for the whole time.
I don't know really. Actually, I think these days with COVID, it was a lot more of a case of, well, actually you do go, you're in a bubble. I know in England cricket and cricket in general, you're put in bio bubbles and family aren't allowed to travel at all really. But I think it's not uncommon for families to go. But in this situation, Capello didn't even want them in the camp because the circus around 2006 had just been too much.
Yeah, but this kind of swung it too much the other way.
Yeah,
I think we've heard stories in years gone by that players didn't enjoy this atmosphere.
No, I mean, the players were absolutely bored out of their skulls and, described it as a regimented army camp. I mean, by the sound of it, you had the players, they'd enjoyed the business-like nature of Capello and, short international breaks. But as soon as you get into these long periods and, Capello in his full metal jacket, you've really got to think, what the hell is going on? I mean, Crouch even described it as a luxurious prison.
Yeah, that sounds all right. I mean, a luxurious prison. I'm taking luxurious from that. And the fact that we all know he's saying that, but they actually aren't in prison as well.
Yeah, they're not actually in prison.
I'll take that. Rooney, he said his daily routine was breakfast, train, lunch, bed, dinner, bed. Why has he gone to bed so much?
There's just nothing to do, is it? It just sounds like the longest travel day from a holiday, doesn't it? We've got a really late flight and you're just mulling around.
Yeah. A famous story of Jermaine Defoe watching the whole of Wayne Rooney's wedding video to kill the time.
Yeah, I mean, why is Wayne Rooney taking his wedding video to a World Cup?
Watch this, la. This is the best bit.
But he's got to have taken that on like a DVD or something. He's like, right, I've got everything. I've got my boots. I've got this. I've got my wedding video. Yeah,
it's actually quite sweet. He probably just missed Colleen.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. But I know he's not seeing her a lot, but she is still in the country and they can talk and things like. But it's just so strange. Of like, right, I've packed this. I'm all sorted. I mean, they must have watched it in his room because actually the coaching staff pretty much took over the purpose-built TV and games room, so the players couldn't even really do that.
The coaches just come in with like £500 coins and put them on the pool table. It's like, no, boys, you got to wait.
Yeah. You may get to play and enjoy yourself. This is our time. This
is our time.
I mean, straight away, that feels like there's a divide there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen the wedding video bits on Wayne Rooney's documentary?
Yeah, it was in the documentary, isn't it?
He's singing Paolo Nutini to her on that boat.
Oh my God, it's so funny, isn't it? Just that open shirt as well. It's like far too open for what you feel comfortable looking at Wayne Rooney with.
Right. Speaking of comfort, a nice warm-up game for England. Now, I really do remember this. This is the tragicomedy is getting there now. Platinum Stars.
Yeah.
Everyone's favourite team. A real challenge. England had a warm-up game against Platinum Stars, a local team in South Africa.
Yeah, I think it must be close to Rustenburg. I think I haven't done quite my research on Platinum Stars, but I know England were playing them, and they were fortunate to be 1-0 up at half time in this essentially a training match with them, and the Stars had actually missed a penalty.
Yeah, the game was on Sky Sports News.
Yeah,
amazing.
Not today. That would be on full coverage, advertised, everything. We're going to watch England in their World Cup qualifying training game. Yeah,
you can imagine Rooney at the time. Watch us against Platinum Stars.
Yeah, I mean, Sky just desperate to show a World Cup game at that point. Well, they'd probably just do it on someone's phone these days, wouldn't they, if they haven't got the rights to it?
I think we won that game, didn't we?
Yeah, but it had its problems. So when the 1-0 up at half time.
We were playing in like a school playground from what I remember.
It's not FIFA Street.
It looked like FIFA
It,
Street.
it looked like just a
Was
weird.
the concrete involved?
I don't think they were playing on concrete. That may have been a bit too much, but it was a really kind of low rent stadium, wasn't
Ledley
it?
King just like, no,
No, I'm not involved in this whatsoever. But
I'm not playing on concrete.
James Milner kind of tells about after this when he was, after half time, he was expecting Capello to come in and lose it. And he said, Capello started saying, yes, it was a good first half. You did everything you should do. And the players were like, oh, that's all right then. And then all of a sudden he just exploded and go, no, you fucking didn't.
Oh, he's done them there.
Apparently he smashed his hand on the table and just stormed off afterwards.
God's sake.
But what point do you think, yep, that's a really good idea, that is? I'm just going to go total change on them here just to really scare them.
I just don't know. I mean, he was probably looking forward to this World Cup, and by this
And
by
the
that-
launch of the Capello Index. He'd
Yeah.
be rolling in it by then.
yeah, I've worked so bloody hard at this index, and all people have done is slag me off for it.
Who's messed my index up?
Yeah,
I've worked on this for years.
who's touched this?
It's colour coordinated and everything.
Yeah, with his ergonomic management keyboard. So he's probably by this point just fed up.
Yeah.
But back home, we were all pretty confident. Do you remember the headline on the Sun, very famous one,
What was that?
when the group was drawn?
Oh, no, what was that headline?
England, Algeria, Slovenia, Yanks,
Oh,
easy.
oh, God.
So it had those EASY letters in gold. Yanks.
Yeah, I can remember that. They got so far and they were just like, right, a Y word. Yes, Yanks, we can use that.
I know,
Brilliant.
yeah. He's like, oh, if only. He's Izu something.
Who's that person at the Sun who goes, Yanks? He's like, just points, he's like, I've got it, right, down the pub.
Yeah, the slightly disrespectful headline chimp who gets wheeled out if they're a bit stuck. But back home, we were loving it. I mean, reasons to feel confident. We've already gone through the squad, but this is just complete. What's the word? Cognitive dissonance. Thinking England could do well with a squad like that. We had Wayne Rooney, but he was injured.
But you got, Gerrard and Lampard who were, their height at that point as well. Some good players in the squad. Ashley Cole still in his prime.
And to be fair, an easy group on paper.
Yeah. I think it was fine. But then you look at kind of, I think this is the period here where people who aren't English take the opinion of England being arrogant. You've got people in the media shouting about England's chances, picking the most wide-eyed, optimistic and demented-looking England fans and sticking them front and centre of the coverage.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of wide-eyed, demented, we played a bit at the start of this episode. Terry Venables released a cover of Elvis Presley's "If I Can Dream."
Loved it.
I mean, I'd like to think that this, he's thought, if I can dream, football song, I'm gonna get the whole country behind me. But he's just like, I'm a bit like Elvis, aren't I? Actually,
Yeah.
someone's gone to him. You should, he's done a karaoke.
Yeah.
Someone's gone. You remind me of Elvis, and he goes, yes.
Yeah, I could do that, definitely.
Maybe I'll go to the Sun, and they will. It is for the Sun, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
In my mind, it's very much linked with the Sun. With the Sun.
Yeah, I remember in the advert actually it ended with Terry, nodding to the high notes, and a second star appeared over the England crest. I remember that vividly.
Madness. On the notes, you put Venables versus Presley, which is better?
Yeah, just a question.
Do you want to answer that question?
Oh, not right now.
Okay. Okay.
I think instead we should probably just play a little bit because I remembered this a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the notes and I was just like, oh my God, yes, I remember loving this.
Happy to play a bit, but I think it will have to be just the Venables one. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the Presley family are probably a bit more on the copyright than the Venables.
Well, as I said to you in the build-up, it's not like Presley wrote it,
Yeah.
but still, I know what you mean. I'm not going near that.
So this is a little bit, we've already heard some, but we want to hear some more to really get us in the spirit. The game's coming up. This is Terry Venables, If I Can Dream. Deep in my heart, there's a trembling question. Still, I'm sure that the answer is going to come somehow. Out there in the dark, there's a beckoning candle, yeah. And while I can think, while I can talk, while I can stand, while I can walk, you're doing the gestures. While I can dream, oh, please let my dream come true right now. Let it come true right now. Oh, yeah. Those are the lyrics. Not anything to do with football at all.
No, but if he'd have changed it, it just would have been even worse. I mean, I've now got that on my phone forever, so that's just staying there now. I loved it.
I think. Are you an Elvis fan?
Yeah, I love Elvis.
I was gonna say I wasn't sure because because I know you've not ironically got into this song, this Terry Venables version.
You just get into really weird songs and you're just like, I really shouldn't like this, but there's something about it where you just like you can't help it.
Yeah, what's his name? Nick something. The guy who he's an acoustic guitar. Oh come on, what's he called? Nick.
What are you asking me for?
No, not no. His name's Nick.
I know, yeah.
Nick Singer, acoustic.
I don't know all the
TV
Nicks.
show. I'm gonna Google him. Nick Drake. No, not Nick Drake. This podcast has gone off the. Is it Nick Knowles?
I thought you were going to do a weird ad then. This podcast is sponsored by Nick someone.
It is. It's Nick Knowles from DIY SOS.
Oh, yeah. He lives in Shropshire, actually, I think.
Does it? Well,
yeah.
If you listen to his album, Every Kind of People, you'd guess it sounds very much like it's from Shropshire, but he's one of them for me.
Okay, then.
Whether that last minute is going to make a cut of this, I have no idea. So we've done Venables, we've done Knowles, we've done all the build-up. It's time for the game. England versus the USA, Saturday, 12th of June, 2010. We're here.
We're here finally, aren't we?
We're here, Nick. All that anticipation, all of that hype, all of that beautiful music. And, we'll start with the lineup, shall we? England. In goal, Rob Green. We'll get to that later. Right back, Glenn Johnson. Centre backs, Ledley King and John Terry, with Ashley Cole at left back. Right midfield, Aaron Lennon, Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard in the middle.
Getting the band back together, loved it.
James Milner on the left, Emil Heskey and Wayne Rooney up front. On the bench, you have David James, Joe Hart, Jamie Carragher, Michael Dawson, Stephen Warnock, Michael Carrick, Joe Cole, Sean Wright-Phillips, Peter Crouch and Jermaine Defoe. With honorary mention, Mr. David Beckham in his lovely suit. Rocking a waistcoat, actually.
I know, nice three-piece, isn't it? Always a fashion trendsetter, isn't he?
Should we talk through England's lineup then, or do you want to do America?
Let's go through England first, I think.
Rob Green's in goal. That's a start, because when we read that squad out earlier, out of those three keepers, I mean, who do you pick? Rob Green, David James, Joe Hart. I mean, what's the...
It's a little bit of much of a muchness, isn't it? I mean, Joe Hart only, he played in a couple of the warm-up games and a little bit of practice games, but Capello wasn't happy with his distribution. We just scream at him, Hart, why?
Was Joe Hart like 18 at this point?
He was young. He was at City, and he'd been on loan at Birmingham City.
He was incredible.
And he'd done really, really well. But the idea was like, well, are you going to risk someone with no experience compared to, then you look at someone like David James, who'd been at Portsmouth and had been good at Portsmouth. But
and had played for England in big tournaments.
I think he was like 40 years old at this point. I know keepers like can go on to when they're older and things like that, but you still think, all right, well, are we going into another tournament with David James in goal?
Yeah.
Or if you kind of got that middle ground of, well, Rob Green, he'd been at West Ham, he'd been good at West Ham.
Good keeper.
I think very absolutely solid keeper on his day, wasn't he, really, Rob Green? But it's that thing of, well, who are you going to pick? And to leave it up until the day to tell Rob Green he's playing, you can't get his head in it at that point. 'Cause even the sub keepers, you just think, well, what are they thinking at the same time?
Told him on the day. Do you think he just didn't know himself?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions in the England lineup here, isn't it? I think you look at a lot of the players and you just think, well, would you have started, a flip of a coin, he probably starts at 2 or 3 different players as well. He doesn't know his own best lineup at this point.
Another shock appearance for Ledley King. Never in a million years when we started this podcast did I think we'd see 2 Ledley King appearances before the first 10 episodes.
2 Ledley King run-ins.
Yeah. So what else have we got in there? Aaron Lennon on the right, James Milner on the left.
Yeah, it's
strange one.
Strange one. I mean, again, Milner was quite. I mean, it feels like he was been playing for the under-21s for about 20 years at this point as well. He'd been playing for them for so long, and lots of different clubs. Always been really good at the club, so a really solid professional.
Yeah, that wasn't a slight against James Milner, who's an amazing footballer, really is. But left midfield, I feel like they're trying to Maybe he was more attacking than I remember him at this time. But like, it's almost like we're not playing a holding midfielder, so we play one on the left of midfield.
Basically playing like a left winger who's going to tackle a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't feel you need that with Ashley Cole being there as well. But
Come on, God, let them attack them the right a lot because we need it.
yeah, I mean that also means that Gerrard and Lampard do play together in centre midfield, and Michael Carrick was going through a really poor period at Man United at this point. He wasn't really playing that much. He had other players in front of him, including Paul Scholes and Darren Fletcher, who were playing a lot better. But he still went to the tournament. I remember thinking at the time he shouldn't be there, but even with everything around that, and you're so struggling for a holding midfielder, why are you not playing Michael Carrick?
Yeah, our right hand side, Glenn Johnson and Aaron Lennon, very happy with that. I mean, Aaron Lennon was ridiculous at this time.
Yeah.
Glenn Johnson as well, really good. So strong in parts, weak in others. Ledley King playing at centre back.
Really good player, Ledley King. I just don't think I've ever had that England career, and it's just that risk. And I think, do you need to take? And I think a couple of these selections we'll get onto it. Do you need to take that risk in the first game when there's so much riding on it against a team who are not a bad team whatsoever?
Emil Heskey up front, Jermaine Defoe and Peter Crouch on the bench, probably thinking, right,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.
I mean, what does somebody like Darren Bent have to do? And I know Heskey has his role, but the goals that English players were scoring that year in the Prem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's because he had such a specific role, and Capello just liked him. He liked all the not pace. There's a couple of England players that are quite pacey, but a work rate around him, and Heskey works his arse off in the game, and he kind of justifies his selection. I think
He's not the only England manager to like him, is he? So
No.
that says a lot. Let's look at the USA's lineup, Nick.
Yeah, you've got Tim Howard in goal, and then Stephen Cherundolo, Onyewu, Jay Demerit, Carlos Bocanegra, Landon Donovan, Ricardo Clark, Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, Robbie Findlay, and Josie Altidore up front.
Okay. The bench.
The bench, you've got Brad Guzan, Marcus Hanneman, John Bornstein, Clarence Goodson, Jonathan Spector, DeMarcus Beasley, Maurice Edu, Benny Falber, Francisco Torres, Edson Buddle, and Hercules Gomez.
Yeah, some really good players, some standout names. I'm looking at Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, Josie Altidore, Tim Howard. Even on the bench, DeMarcus Beasley as well.
An FM legend, really, wasn't he? Beasley. I always remember loads of people signed him. He was like a one up from a Freddie Adu, you'd say, because Freddie Adu just never had that career.
Maybe I'm mixing the actual career up with that.
With Freddie Adu.
This would have probably been Freddie Adu's time, wouldn't it?
I think on FM, maybe a year or two later, but you could still maybe pick him up for good money and turn him into something. But it stands out to me like some really good goalkeepers in that team: Hanneman, Guzan, Howard, and they'd not long had Brad Friedel and Casey Keller. It's just something about goalkeepers that are American in this period.
Yeah. America's always had quite a strong pipeline of goalkeepers. But outfield-wise, I think this is kind of a peak for them with Donovan and Dempsey. I'm not too sure on the squad at the moment. I know you got Pulisic, and no doubt it's probably stronger overall now. But Dempsey and Donovan, Dempsey again, he's playing alongside Bobby Zamora.
Yeah.
In that squad and really doing well.
Had an incredible season at Fulham as they got to the Europa League final, and he was a big part in that too. Not long until he got a move to Spurs, but it didn't quite work out for him. But it probably said more about where Spurs were, where they couldn't fit him into a system. But Hodgson had got it absolutely spot on. Scored one of the kind of the great Fulham goals against Juventus at the Craven Cottage at the time as well.
Such a good game. An all-time great England look. You've mentioned it's white socks, shorts, and shirt. All-time great England look. Why do you think so?
I just think it looks just absolutely classic. I remember a load of us bought this shirt. Even people who weren't really into football. I remember one of our friends bought this shirt and it was just like, "Yep, this is exactly what I want." And this is such a good look.
It is a nice shirt.
The collar's really nice. I think the red kind of sticks out in the right way as well. A nice typeface on it. The emblem, the badge is just big enough without being kind of over dominating as well.
It looks a bit old school, brought up to date. Yeah. Which is always a good thing, I guess.
I kind of like that look of the classic. I mean, the away kit as well is beautiful too.
The red one.
Yeah, the red one's one of my favourite England kits. But those two for me were the best England kits I can remember.
I really like the USA's top for this game, their away kit.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a dark navy blue with a white stripe across it with some red highlights too. I think, another smart kit, isn't it?
Let's get a little bit of build up from inside the stadium then. Enjoy. We're nearly at kickoff. Here we go.
Good evening, everybody. And on nights like these, it is just about everybody. So, what do you think? Is this the team? Is this the year? Every England fan wants to believe it, wants to believe in Gerrard and co. We will have a much better idea as to their realistic chances in a couple of hours' time. But this is an England team in its prime. Average age 28. Average number of caps per player 45. Between them, they've already been to 17 major international tournaments. 7 of them have played Champions League. 5 of them have captained their clubs. There's experience, there's authority. They've played with and against the best players in the world for club and country. There should be nothing to fear at this tournament. No unknown elements. They're right and ready. And this opportunity will not come along again for many of them.
Okay, so national anthems. England, is it a good one from them? Is it a bad one from them? What would you say?
I think it's an all right one, isn't it? I mean, Tilsley calls it the national anthem, as if there's only one around. You know, actually,
Yeah.
you know, good Lampard, Terry, and Green. You know, they're all kind of loving it, even if they're not all belting it out.
Yeah, the USA one, they're a lot less passionate in terms of what you can see as visible passion, but they're all together. They're all like arms on the shoulder. They look focused. What can you say?
Look professional is what you probably said. And they're very professional. They're focused for this, and it's a big game, isn't it? This takes place at 7:30. I think it's only an hour or two different from England. I don't remember that. I thought this game was like an afternoon kickoff when we watched it. I didn't think it was like as late as it was.
Mate, we were very drunk, man. Well, I suppose you can get that drunk by the afternoon, but
For an England game on a Saturday as well. That is, you know, it does seem to come around a little bit more than it used to, really. I mean, the last couple of World Cups has been late kickoffs for England sides, and you think, oh, great, I'll get to go and make a day of it, or even Friday at least sometimes.
it looks amazing in the stadium to me. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? I think you said it looks like there's a big game feel around it, and the nighttime really adds to that. It feels like there's so many England fans as well.
Yeah.
Wherever you look in the stadium, there's just loads of flags, isn't there?
And well, game's kicked off, Nick.
Yeah.
And can I just say to our audience, I'm really sorry for the audio clips that I'm going to be putting in because vuvu effing zelas.
It's this era. It's
Jesus Christ.
this World Cup, isn't it?
It's that World Cup. I mean, what the hell? That must have been off-putting for the players.
I think so. It's definitely at home as well. I mean, after a while, you do kind of blank it out. After a while, like it's just in the background, it's just happening. But I remember when you just weren't used to it, and then I remember watching this game here, and you just going, "Whoa, what is that?"
Yeah. I was just like watching the game yesterday, thinking, do I just mute it? But I wanted to hear the commentary.
Well, Tilsley's on, isn't he? So you definitely want to hear that.
Yeah, he mentions pretty early on England haven't had a good first half in a very long time.
That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
First thing you say. I mean, I think Tilsley's brilliant in the build-up, but when he just said, "Yep, England haven't played well in the first half for quite some time,"
yeah. Halftime roastings from Capello have become routine as of late.
smashing the table and all that again.
Yeah, they get off to a good start though. Actually, quite a very good start.
Lampard. Rolled into Rooney, just beyond him, but it will come for Heskey. And here's Steven Gerrard! And England take the lead! Lift off inside of 4 minutes! A captain's goal from Steven Gerrard! Leading from the front! It's the perfect start!
Yeah, lift off for England so early on. I think it's 3 minutes in.
Yeah,
Lampard plays a ball along the floor to Rooney. Rooney can't reach it, but it finds its way to Emil Heskey, who sees Gerrard on his left-hand side and slides him in. Gerrard pokes the ball past Howard into the goal. And yeah, what were we all so worried about?
I know we've got Steven Gerrard, we've got Wayne Rooney. It's all going to be fine.
It's all going to be good.
I love the commentary. Lift off after 4 minutes and a captain's goal for Gerrard. He knows he's playing to the hits. Them are two absolute classic Tilsley quotes there. Fantastic. What a start.
I know. Tilsley just feels like he just hasn't dreamt in a long time. And this is the first time in years he's just letting himself dream and believe a little bit, isn't it?
All right, Terry Venables, calm down.
He's into it. He's bought the single, Tilsley has.
Oh, you know that. I streamed it on the Sun's YouTube channel. God, that's a perfect start for a World Cup. 4 minutes in, really, truly.
I I remember the pub we were in as well, just lost it.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd probably been in a pub for a tournament. I think, yeah, it was actually the first time I'd been in a pub.
I just turned 18.
Yeah, yeah. And then I remember just drinks going everywhere. I think we all just bought a round of drinks immediately. And it genuinely just felt all the build-up had just evaporated. And you thought, you know what, this team are good enough to go out and do something.
They've switched it on the big stage.
I think so. And then you just think, you know what, maybe this is going to happen, because you did. It was kind of before It's Coming Home came back as a big song as well. I mean, it was still sung, but you had other songs around the time too. But it was just like, wow, this could be it. And I remember at the time I was just thinking, this is a big chance for England at this tournament, because there weren't many standout favourites really from memory.
And it's a really passionate celebration from the team. You can tell it means a lot to them. I know it's, in retrospect, there's a lot written about this bunch being a bunch of bad eggs, shall we say. But I don't think you can ever truly say that any England team didn't care once that whistle blows in a World Cup. I mean, you can look back and go, maybe they were split into different factions and they didn't love playing for the going away to these camps and the process of playing for your country. But when the World Cup starts, I don't think any England player has ever took it lightly.
No, I don't think so. Even Carragher, we mentioned that he said he's glad he missed the penalty for England instead of Liverpool, but he still said it meant everything to him to go to a World Cup, which he'd watched on television, to do that.
So Gerrard, Lampard and Rooney are our kind of big attacking hopes, really. Capello had to find a way to put them into a system. So prior to the tournament, he had a little word with the three of them.
Yeah, he said, you are a fantastic player, you're a fantastic player, you're a fantastic player. And then I explained the movement I want them to do during the game, and the players did this. It just seems all very simple there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we've actually forgotten something there with the goal. Mm-hmm. We were lucky enough to see it and points go flying, but a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, so this was the first HD World Cup, and clearly some teething issues at this point. So one being, if you were watching on ITV HD, you actually missed the goal because the feed died, and it cut back just as all the England players were on the floor celebrating.
Yeah. Oh my, that's horrible, man.
I know. I mean, we'll get to it, but this is kind of a high point at this World Cup, let's just say. This is maybe one of the better bits. And imagine just missing that. I mean, where we watched it, we had no problem because there was never going to be HD in that bar, was there?
No chance. Tilsley says that Heskey hasn't started a game for club or country since March.
I mean, that's also on Capello, because he could pick him just to test him out.
Against the lovely boys or whatever it was that they played against. But an impressive start for Heskey. I really enjoyed watching Heskey in the 2002 Brazil World Cup game. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe this podcast has made me reconsider my opinion on Emil Heskey, because he's been really good in both, the first 4 minutes of this game and
he's influential.
And what he played against Brazil, which was about an hour, 70 minutes. Okay, let's move a little bit forward then. England still pressing. They win a corner when Lampard takes a free kick from about 40 yards. It's hard to express just how far out this free kick is, and how Frank Lampard tries to he hits it low and hard. I mean, that's hopeful thinking, even with the world famous Jabulani ball.
Jabulani, yeah. I mean, I know everything kind of. Before every tournament, there's a lot made of the new ball that's going to be used, and it's rounder, it flies better, and all that. But more than any, you heard players just going, "It's so hard to control." I mean, one of the few players probably who really mastered it and got that curve on it and the change of direction was Diego Forlan, who really shone at this tournament.
Oh yeah, he was a Golden Boot winner, I think.
Yeah, I think he won Player of the Tournament, definitely, for a team that finished third.
Was this the year where Tim Lovejoy had his famous 3 players to watch?
Oh, is this the year? Is it? I don't know.
I think so.
Messi, Ronaldo, and
Rooney.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Great insight. So Lampard definitely testing that. England get the corner. Nothing much comes of that, but still a great start. America. I'm going to call them USA, not America. Yeah. They aren't going to get turned over very easily, though. It's not that's one in, and we're just pressing, and the next one's going to come. They get back into it. They have a few corners themselves. Actually make a bit of a chance.
Yeah, Cherundolo is totally on his own because they take the corner short twice, and both times no England players are trying to close them down. Could do better with a shot and it drifts wide, but Capello is going absolutely batshit on the side. He was even screaming and annoyed when England scored. And you just think, even at that, just let yourself enjoy it. Come on.
Oh, he's not here to enjoy it. Steven Gerrard's here to enjoy it. He's all over it, isn't he? About 15 minutes in, he's He's really playing with passion. It's like
Yeah.
the Liverpool Gerrard, which we rarely see for England.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, he's shouting, he's pointing, he's tackling, he's all over the place, just telling players what to do, where they should be, and
Pointing.
and kind of deserving the fact that he's been made captain for this game as well. Well, for this tournament.
True. Very true, actually, yeah. Well, wasn't Rio Ferdinand the captain?
But
We've gone through that. Let's not go back there. Yeah, he made a few really good tackles in the first 15 minutes as well. But yeah, let's be honest now. We're 15 minutes in. We've been giddy.
Yeah.
But after that goal,
Yeah.
mainly being America.
Yeah, I mean, it starts
USA?
to set in. Yeah, I mean, they're using the ball better than England. Making a couple of chances, and Donovan sent a lovely crossover for Altidore from 7 yards out, and it's a bit of a bad miss, really. He's got a lot to do, but you still think of a striker at a World Cup should be doing better than that.
A sitter, in the words of co-commentator Andy Townsend. Hard to disagree, really. A really good chance for America, so it could easily be 1-1, and you see a bit more of Capello going nuts. But yeah, England goal at the other end, just after that, an almost score. The ball's played to Rooney, who knocks it onto Lennon. Lennon's through on goal. He tries to play it across the box rather than shoot, which is kind of understandable. It's a bit of a tough angle, but that's blocked. Lampard then tries a slow-mo overhead kick, really never going to get the pair on it that he wants. Tim Howard picks that up quite easily, but really good work from Wayne Rooney to make the chance. He's not playing how I thought he would have in the first 15 minutes, but he's linking up play quite well.
I think with Aaron Lennon as well, you think, he was never a great goal scorer or even really had great numbers in terms of assists, but he would always, run a defence ragged, and the position he gets into, you just think, God, and a couple of times you think, just shoot. What's the worst that's going to happen there?
Yeah, that was about 19 minutes in that chance. And by 25, England are sort of levelling it up now. They've wrestled control back from the USA. And there's a bit of an argy-bargy. Well, a bit of not an injury. How would you describe it?
Yeah, so Milner's booked for bringing down Cherundolo, and he was lucky not to get a yellow card a little bit earlier than that too. And from that, Donovan whips in a free kick. Onyewu heads over. It's followed by a few dangerous moments for USA, including Heskey, leaving a foot in on Tim Howard to get to rough him up.
Yeah, roughing him up. Beckham applauds. Beckham likes it. What
Like
it sees.
Well done.
He liked the merchandise. I don't know why I said that. It's just the way this picture of him clapping makes me think. Really, really strong period. Glenn Johnson's actually been quite impressive for me. England playing with real intensity and passion, but that sort of momentum is jolted a little bit because they make a substitution before the half an hour.
Yeah, this is the first little, that may be a problem to come back. So, substitution for England. Sean Wright-Phillips comes on for James Milner, and James Milner had been ill in the lead up to the game and in training, and you just think, he's also on a booking, bring him off. I mean, why are you starting him if he's, again, this is another question mark of if James Milner's been ill and you're already not sure about playing him, why are you playing him probably out of position over someone else?
Yeah, well, I guess Owen Hargreaves didn't answer the call.
Yeah, to play on the left, yeah, exactly.
Could have had Phil Neville there.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, Sean Wright-Phillips comes on to play on the left-hand side, never a left-sided player either.
No, but obviously England don't have one at this time.
No. I mean, you may say Joe Cole's on the bench, and I think, as we go through the tournament, Joe Cole becomes a bit more of a focal point for England, but in reality, I mean, he had a really good season at Chelsea. I think he was leaving on a free in the summer, and he ended up signing for Liverpool. But
I'm kind of surprised that Fabio Capello didn't see the limitations of this squad and try a different tactic than 4-4-2.
it's when he actually goes, well, we've got a system we trust, and we know what's going to happen with it. But all of a sudden, he's moving pieces around, like Gerrard and Lampard having to play slightly different positions. Rooney as well. Gareth Barry's not there. His focal midfield point.
One thing I've just thought of, I don't think we've covered it. What happened with Theo Walcott? He
may have been injured. Actually, he may have been another one of the crux list.
I feel like he was just not called up.
Maybe, but
him or Defoe.
It may have been him or Wright-Phillips actually, and he's picked Wright-Phillips. I mean, again, Sean Wright-Phillips, very very good player in his day, but you're still thinking should he be playing on the left for England? Especially not.
It's not the most incident-packed game, and England have levelled it out a little bit. It seems to be going to plan a little. On 39 minutes, the ball falls to Clint Dempsey in quite not too dangerous a position, is it?
Victories in the semi. They don't just talk a good game. There's some pedigree. Dempsey of the stars of the Confederations Cup. Testing Green again. Oh, what an error! What an awful moment for Rob Green and for England. Presented Clint Dempsey with an American equaliser. Oh, that will take some getting over. Robert Green, a fatal slip. And suddenly the USA are on terms.
Incredible. Because in all the games that he's played, you know, he's just looked solid. He's just looked solid. That sort of stuff has been no problem to him. He's just dropped his concentration for a split second. It's in the back of the net.
Oh my giddy aunt. What has happened? We all remember this. You at home, you're listening, you remember it.
Even if you were, you know, quite young at the time.
You remember your rage. I remember my rage.
Yeah.
It's a goal. It's 1-1. USA have equalised. It's an absolute disaster, the likes of which is so England. Dempsey, we've spoken about the ball, the Jabulani, but this is not a whirlwindy, wild ball.
No.
He's about 30 yards out. He manages to hit a really tame shot towards Green. Green kneels down to try and collect it, but the ball hits the middle of his two hands. He's not got all his body behind it, and it goes past his hand and into the corner. He's even trying to sort of dive back and rescue, and there's agonising pictures of him coming so close, but he knows what he's done. And England have just been a Molotov cocktail has been thrown into this game, because that is an insanely demoralising goal to concede, and zero faith in your goalkeeper now.
Absolutely. I mean, even the cameraman doesn't know what to do. The person producing this at home. I mean, I don't think we even get a shot of Dempsey after he's scored. We get shots of Rob Green, Capello, Bob Bradley, Joe Hart at one point. Even one of a long one from behind Rob Green's own goal. We don't even get a replay because they're just always on the action shots. And before you can do anything, England are up the pitch making another chance.
Well, we'll get to that chance, but let's talk a little bit more, because this is one of the defining moments of England's recent history. I think it's that even when we start well, and we've had all this bad luck, but we started well, and we should be like happy with where we are. It's, oh my God, that just doesn't happen.
No.
What Rob Green has done there doesn't happen. Do you think that his head was? I mean, the first thing you see on the feed of the game that we watched is if the players in the tunnel, and Rob Green is just looking down at the floor. He looks quite scared. Maybe that's hindsight. Do you think Capello's hesitancy to name him as number one played a factor? And do you think it should?
Well, I don't see what the point is of Capello keeping everybody guessing to the point of when it's your goalkeeper. I mean, I know he doesn't know his own best goalkeeper and who he wants to play, but why not try and instill a bit of confidence in someone like Green? If he goes, you know what, I am going to pick Green a couple of days before, and so you're my number one, and it's that reassurance of you're going to be my number one all the way through. I mean, even you think of like someone like Tilsley and Townsend in this game, they're already talking about, well, is he going to bring him off at half time?
Yeah.
And that's just so savage to think that Capello would actually bring someone off when he's already made one substitution, and he's going to bring the goalkeeper off for making an error. I mean, that is a reign of terror there, isn't it?
Tilsley also says it's Scott Carson all over again.
Oh, don't bring that up. We've already got past that.
Not as big a stage as this, though, is he?
No, it's equally as bad as an error of an
Yeah.
error. This is probably worse, because at least I think it was Modric or someone who shot that day for Croatia. At least that's like a really, really great player who's doing something, and it was an easy shot to save, but at the same time, savable. And this is even more savable. It comes across the floor.
Yeah. I actually think I would have saved that.
Yeah.
If you just put me in for that bit, that little moment, it wouldn't have gone in.
It's got to be concentration, because he's got to be thinking. When you see it in these situations where keepers think, I've got to get this up the pitch quickly, and they're already thinking about the next pass and what they're going to do. I mean,
Very good point.
There was a similar shot with Altidore. I think he had a shot earlier as well that just kind of trickled towards Green's goal, and I was like, oh, that's a little precursor, that, isn't it? Yeah, did well that time.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned there, even the cameramen didn't know where to place themselves. It was madness. Nobody could believe what had happened. But then England are right back up the other end. I mean, like you say, before we've even seen a replay, Glenn Johnson, incredible little bit of skill from him. A nice run for a few challenges. He has a shot with his left, and we do get to catch our breath, which I think I need to do at this point. And we see the replay. Poor bloke.
I know. But I mean, even if people like haven't caught what's happened, they've been looking away or talking or something, and someone just goes, "Oh my god, this is just what's happened." It's taken so long to actually to even see and catch up, because it's really before the day where everyone could like rewind television quite a lot too, and just have live television do that. But we even get a shot of the USA bench, and they're almost like half celebrating, like, "Oh, does that count?"
Yeah. And all of a sudden, a great start has turned to just freakish behaviour.
Yeah, you've got England players falling over, the ball bouncing, it hits the ref. England players on the floor injured. They've already had, Milner go off. They've had this disaster as well. It just feels like all that a heavy weight of expectation, all the build up. It's just starting to be like, yeah, remember this. This is what you thought it was going to be.
The last we hear of the commentators before half time is, as you mentioned, talking about maybe Rob Green being subbed. Townsend says, "I think it will finish him completely if you drag him off now." But he actually said that with 47 minutes gone, as in, like, there's still 30 seconds to play of the half. Is he going to take him off before half time?
No, yeah, that's just wild, isn't it?
And at least we enter half time with the dulcet tones of Adrian Chiles. I think I'm going to put this in for anyone who wants to have their ears assaulted by. Well, I'm one to talk, aren't I? Here we go.
So there you have it, the usual mixture of hope and horror, but there's still more reasons to believe we'll win this game than lose it. Calm yourselves down a bit. Join us in a moment.
Calm yourselves down a bit.
It's just, I forgot it was this era of England where it was just Adrian Chiles being a regular bloke presenting England games. It was just like talking to a bloke down the pub, wasn't it?
Well, it's funny you should say pub before we started monetizing mediocre alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
Right. Half time, 1-1. Equal game?
I think aside from that, it's been an equal game. It's not the big horror show I remember it being. I mean,
Very true.
We've only been 5 minutes since the mistake, so we don't know what's coming yet. But yeah, England obviously unlucky after the mistake to be behind. USA is showing that they really aren't a pushover whatsoever, making good chances.
Yeah. Do you think, a little question at half time, knowing that everything that we know about this squad, a lot of big egos, a lot of really successful players playing for, clubs that were riding high in Europe and obviously England. Rob Green feels a bit of an outsider in this squad. West Ham goalkeeper, I think.
Yeah. I think Matthew Upson was there as well from West Ham, but not in this kind of the closed shop of those top 4 or top 5, whatever they were back then. Of, well, these players play for England. These players sit on the bench for England.
Do you think that the certified England starters, your Lampards, Rooneys, Gerrards, and what have you, do you think that they resented Rob Green, didn't trust him, and were maybe angry at him about this? Because I think if this happened now, I think there would just be like a good squad about it and be like, this could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
But like Lampard and Rooney, you got Rooney playing with like young De Gea or Van der Sar, probably still Van der Sar.
Van der Sar at this point, yeah.
And
You had Petr Cech around the time.
so they're
Reina.
used to being like, our keepers are just solid.
Yeah.
We can do our stuff. And do you think they're like, what is the point in me even trying if Gaffer's picked Rob Green?
Well, I think now, like you say, I think it'd be very different. It'd just be arms around, we're all one team, we win and lose together, the mistakes are all of ours and all that. So I think you get that still. At this point, I don't know, maybe they're a bit more forgiving and just go, look, that is such a freak. It's just, and it's not like those keepers we just mentioned never made mistakes either, but maybe those top players know how to pick themselves up and go, right, I've got to switch off now. And I think Tilsey or Townsend mentioned, you'd hope that Green doesn't try and make up for the mistake by overcompensating for something. That's probably the bigger concern, I'd say.
You don't really see any of the players consoling him.
I think they're just all so shocked. I mean, he barely even does anything after the mistake. He just kind of puts his hand up and it's just like, yep, that was mine.
Yeah, well, we've got 45 minutes to put it right. There's a sub at half time.
Another sub. That's England's second sub, and we've only just got, just as they're all only coming out again.
At least the proactive subs, eh?
Yeah.
Taking off James Milner, who's throwing up, and taking Ledley King off for Jamie Carragher.
Yeah, yet another injury for King, ending his tournament, actually. So that actually takes up one spot that England just can't. They've got a spot there for a player they just can't use anymore. And, remember those first 3 minutes? Pretty fun, weren't they?
It's not a bad first 3 or 4 minutes in the second half, actually. Not as good, obviously, but Aaron Lennon starts quite well. He actually starts really well, I thought. he hadn't really had an influence up to this point, but he gets a few good crosses in and really taking it to the USA left back Bocanegra.
Yeah. And at this point as well, Heskey has a good game holding the ball up and freeing others as well. However, he misses a big chance for England.
I'll just say here, I missed this and I couldn't be asked to rewind it.
Wow.
So when I clip out the audio, which we're going to play now, I'll watch it. But when we come back from the clip that I'm about to play now, I won't really have much of an opinion on it. Enjoy.
Here goes Heskey, now with a chance to score. Emil Heskey, oh, it's a good save by Howard. Drill the ball straight into the midriff of the Everton keeper. But it was a fantastic chance for Heskey.
Great ball from Aaron Lennon-Clyde. It would have completed Heskey's night because he has played so well. He's on his favourite right foot, just unlucky.
As I say, at the time of recording, I can't actually comment on this, so fire away.
Yeah.
Big chance.
Yeah, big chance for England. So Heskey spins and races towards the goal, and Lennon plays him a through ball. Jay Demerit does really well to narrow the gap, and Heskey has a shot from just edge of the area, and it's just straight at Tim Howard. And any other player, you'd think, that's probably a really good chance for them, but it's just that disappointing finish, isn't it, from Heskey?
I refuse to believe Emil Heskey outside the area is anything other than a half chance. Not a really good chance.
No,
I suppose we've got slim pickings at the moment.
I think we have, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. One of my friends, Jamie, forwarded me this little tidbit as well. But Jay Demerit, who I think plays well in the game and does really well to close Heskey down and narrow the angle, he was a doubt before the game because he couldn't see. So the night before, and
Capello's thinking, I want this guy in my squad.
I like the idea of this.
Yeah.
What's his nationality again? Yeah. He had issues since the previous summer when he woke up and with red pus-filled eye, and accidentally scratching it with a contact lens.
Oh God!
Yeah, he was so touch and go until 3 p.m. of the game because he had to get special contact lenses after he'd had to have an eyeball stitch removed a week earlier.
Oh my! I didn't know that eyeball stitches were a thing. Let alone imagine having an eyeball stitch removed. It's like,
and
how has this happened?
And he's played against England, and it's going well so far.
Well, it's going a little bit better for him than Jamie Carragher, who gets a yellow card.
Yeah, he already looks absolutely knackered. He brings down Dempsey on the halfway line, and it's not long after him, like you say, until he gets a yellow card from a really bad challenge on Findlay. Findlay skips past him, and it's just studs up onto the top of the ankle. It doesn't look good at all.
I think I may be being harsh on Jamie Carragher at this point because I'm not sure how old he was, but him playing gave me Soccer Aid vibes.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that long until he's playing in Soccer Aid. Maybe a couple of years. I mean, I've kind of looked at a few recently just for complete games of football that are on the internet, and I think they're probably not too long. I mean, incredible player in his day, centre half. I think he's kind of winding down his own career here outside of England for Liverpool. He's probably not a regular for Liverpool for much longer either.
No, I think he's 30 plus. I think he's like 32, 33 at this point.
Which is still, for a defender, not bad. But I think in this game you start to see it unwind when his pace is. He wasn't blessed with pace, but he knew what to do to get around that, and even that side is deserting him at the moment.
He looks knackered.
Yeah, I mean Wayne Rooney looks knackered as well. He looks like he's not slept for 4 days. He's got stubble on show. His hairy chest is kind of peeking out at the top of that polo shirt of England's, isn't it? And it just looks like that shirt looks so different on him compared to everybody else.
Other than Jamie Carragher.
Yeah, I mean, even Carragher's wearing it a bit better than Rooney. I mean, but I don't know.
Actually, I don't think he looks so bad on Rooney. He looks hard. He looks hard at this point.
But like you say, he just looks like any man ever was wearing it. Like he looks like a fan's come onto the pitch at that point. And I don't want to be too, criticism because it's people's appearances and things like that. But Wayne Rooney will always look, no matter if he's in the best form of his life and the best shape of his life, or he's kind of coming back from a holiday or you're going into pre-season. He's just one of those players, one of those people actually in life that just will always look, well, he's just fat and he's overweight and he doesn't care and all this kind of stuff. When I remember around this time, he's in trim condition for England, but that's something about that shirt just looks so different on him.
He looks a bit knackered, but I have a little theory on that. Do you know about Wayne Rooney's need for a constant droning sound when he goes to sleep?
Oh, doesn't he put the kettle on or something?
Or like, I think I've heard him say Hoover.
Hoover, sorry, yeah, because I guess the kettle would stop after a period, wouldn't it?
Good night, love. But well, on that,
Poor Colleen. Maybe that's why she's giving him the wedding video. Just be like, right, just there you go. Just play that. Pretend I'm in the background.
well, maybe the reason why Rooney isn't really having the big influence on this game and looks a bit knackered is the vuvuzelas are like taunting him.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of sound he'd usually put on when he's in his pajamas, getting ready to go to sleep.
I did stop from saying white noise earlier, actually, just because I thought, yeah, maybe that will come up again. But it's just white noise in the background, isn't it? I mean, there's a bit more bite on the pitch at this point. Gerrard goes in really high on Dempsey, and it's a bad tackle. He gets booked for it, and yeah, I don't know if England are rattled by USA or the conditioning of maybe USA is just a lot better than England, because at this point they just can't seem to string two passes together. This is probably the bad bit I remember.
We're about an hour in, and yeah, I agree. Nothing much has happened in the first 15. I started to think here about proactive changes we could have made. I would have loved to have seen David Beckham on at this point.
Yeah, I mean, whether he'd have been the player to get a bit of energy into the side is maybe a bit different. You would think of Cole, but England do get crosses in the game. I think Gerrard gets quite a few in when he's just sprayed out there. Lennon doesn't really do too much in terms of that, but yeah, maybe I think we'd have liked to have seen a Beckham on, but I guess there's not that. Your energy in midfield's already on the pitch, isn't it? Who else is coming on out of that England bench?
And let's not forget that we've already made 2 out of 3 substitutions due to like weird starting selections,
and their own fault as well. Though to me, that's your own fault because you've had to do those 2 changes. I mean, one of the 2 changes here has somehow USA don't score off the back of it.
Yeah, let's have a little bit of a listen to what happens next.
By Bocanegra, Donovan, Altidore trying to take that in his stride. Carragher's got to watch here and can't afford a rash challenge, and Altidore's got through, and a fantastic save by Rob Green. Oh, redemption for the West Ham goalkeeper. Beating Altidore's shot onto a post. Cherundolo, very good header in turn by Carragher. He needed a good moment, having been skinned by Altidore. But what a stop by Robert Green. What a recovery.
Big chance.
Yeah, Altidore up against Carragher wide right, muscles and beats Carragher, off the pitch almost as well. And Altidore shifts the ball onto his right foot, shoots. Green saves it at the near post, and it bounces off the post and out. And yeah, you hear Tilsley then saying, "Oh, it's redemption. He's made up for it."
It's not redemption. It's not making up for it. It's a decent save, and fair play to him for making it. But
even that's unconventional. Even that save itself, if you watch the game back, it's kind of the same thing he does with the normal shot. He's got his hands behind it, and it goes to the side of his hand and hits the post and goes out. It's the same thing he's done with the first one. It's like his technique's not quite there at this point because he's probably just so nervous.
I think the commentators feel so sorry for him.
Yeah, I know,
yeah. Townsend's a bit like, oh, really good save. Yeah. Good boy. He's almost going like, don't let them... No, I don't care what they're saying about you. You're the best goalkeeper in the world. Yes, you are. To me, you're the best goalkeeper in the world.
I stick up for you, I do, and all the others.
Yeah. So they're eager to make it redemption, but it's not. But England are lucky. I mean, Carragher got absolutely skinned. It's like the Neville retirement game, I think.
Yeah, I think so for England. But yeah, picked up a booking. He's not having the best day out, is he?
No, we don't see a replay of it for ages, which kind of signifies. Well, I don't know why, because there's not more.
It's another Green, something that Green's done in the game where for some reason we just don't get a replay for ages.
Yeah, there's a little bit of what I thought was quite an interesting moment. Up the other end, England sort of attacking on the right. Ball goes out for a throw in. There's a little bit of momentum at this point. They've done well to get to that position. Glenn Johnson picks up the ball, ready to take the throw in, but the referee stops because Glenn Johnson's lip is bleeding. And he makes him go off for treatment rather than taking the throw, and it's just one of those. It's like we barely got any momentum.
Yeah,
I'm ready to take this throw. You can see he's really frustrated. One of those small details, but it's kind of one of those things which make you think it's not going to go England's way.
The momentum's just being lost, isn't it? Even when they go up the pitch to try and correct the big mistake that's just happened, leading to a chance for a goal. Even that's out of the window now.
Capello again, probably thinking, right, his lips just going to burst now.
I'll take you off then, fine as well. Get with you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Gary Neville, can you come back at this point?
If anyone's leg's going to fall off, do it now, because I haven't got any more subs.
Will you tell me about this?
Yeah.
Well, we get ding, ding, ding. We get the klaxon. Wolves watch. We have a Wolves flag in the background.
Great spot.
Yeah.
I even thought at this point the Wolves watch theory was a myth, but it lives to fight another day.
Yeah, Canuck.
Around
Yeah, Cannock is what's written on there, is it? So we've got some Wolves from Cannock on there too.
Cannock Lions.
Yeah.
64 minutes, 24 seconds in, if you guys want to check it out while Ashley Cole's collecting the ball. There's a little interesting comment from Tilsley about Emil Heskey at this point. What do you think of Heskey's game so far?
I think he's probably been England's best attacking player. He's holding the ball up really well, winning fouls, doing all the right things apart from missing that really big chance. But
I think by far he's been England's best attacking player. Frank Lampard has been completely anonymous. Gerrard, all right.
Gerrard's been really busy about it, but even he's
faded
because he's had to go back into midfield and he's doing part of that job with Lampard, where their job sharing, actually having to defend. Even that's not looking great. And Tilsley's kind of like grasping for anything. He says that he compares Heskey to Stefan Guivarc'h, who played in France '98 for France and didn't score a goal all the way when they led up to the tournament. And it feels like he's just trying to will that into existence. Well, France didn't have a player for their greatest team ever.
Yeah, there was that's what England relied on at this time was weird statistical quirks.
Yeah,
and you'd hear stuff like, "Oh, did you know England were drawing 1-1 with America after 65 minutes in 1966 and stuff like that?" And it's just like
this song was top when England last won the World Cup, and it was
France had done so and so 2 tournaments before, and then oh god, they were relied on that so much. They're struggling to get any real openings. Sean Wright-Phillips has been really pretty darn useless. Lennon, Johnson, both not finding their targets with some crosses, really not getting to headers. And USA do look dangerous when they get the ball. They try and break again. Finley's muscle they ever break against Jamie Carragher, sorry. He just about does enough to not concede a foul, else, he would surely be off at that point. Stumping out breaks, making those challenges where you're like, I'll take a yellow for the team.
But that's the thing. He's already on one. He's already had a dangerous game. I thought that was almost like 60-40 favour if it was a foul, because he does shove him out the way so much. I mean, Carragher even says that he only came back into the squad because he wanted to work with Capello, because Gerrard had spoken so well of him, in the build-up to the World Cup, and he said he regrets coming out of it because he was quite disappointed with what he had from Capello, and he just didn't feel any connection with him. It's understandable from what you kind of read.
Yeah,
really.
And Capello's probably seen what he's done on the pitch and thought, well, that's all right then.
Yeah.
I've made a mistake, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, after the game as well, Rob Green says that Capello doesn't even talk to him.
Oh, God.
I mean, I know, I understand well, what do you say? But say something.
Yeah.
Just get your frustration out, try and motivate him in a certain way. Just do something. Don't just not talk to him.
We're 75 minutes in now. We're on the closing stretch. England make a few changes. They make a few chances. Lampard takes a quick free kick. Rooney has a shot whistle past the post. A really good shot from Rooney, I've got to say. It's definitely his best moment of the game.
Yeah.
It's from quite a distance. He has I'll tell you what, Tilsley went mad for that shot. He was like, that's why he's there.
Yeah, just that spark of something finally, isn't it? It's his best moment of the game. Heskey has I think Rooney made playing short right Phillips, and it's just hit straight at the keeper as well. There are little openings that I totally forgot that England had. They do miss chances in this game, actually.
Yeah, and it's not been, awful so far.
Not a complete shit show, is it?
No, they've made a few chances, as you say, which is the main thing you want. But other than, Carragher getting skinned, they've relatively held it together at the back as well.
I think so, yeah. I mean, Heskey brings off... Heskey's brought off, for Crouch as well. Good record at the time for England. He had he'd scored quite a lot.
Famous Peter Crouch goal-scoring record.
Very good record compared to everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Against not great opposition, shall we say?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be hoping that he could get a goal. And fair enough, he's not going to take Rooney off, is he? Even though Heskey's played better,
No.
Heskey and Crouch up front would have been
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, England fashioned sort of a chance near the end, breaking through midfield. They're 4-on-2 at one point, and it's just snuffed out. It's Lennon crosses the ball back to Lampard, and he kind of just loses his feet. Just another little moment where you just think that's just something that's just not gone England's way there.
And not much else really goes England's way.
Referee's blown the final whistle. And England stuck at first base, held by the Americans on opening night. Not a result that derails England, but not the result they hoped for. Not a result that will frighten the other World Cup contenders. Saturday nights, all right, but no better. Not a good night for Rob Green. Certainly not a good moment, which led to the American equaliser. Historically, several winning World Cup campaigns have started slowly. England themselves drew their opening game back in '66. But it only serves to make next Friday night's Cape Town rendezvous with Algeria here on ITV all the more important. 1-1 the
That's it.
That's it.
World Cup 2010 has started with a 1-1 draw against the USA.
Yeah. So yeah, held to the draw there, and all of a sudden the baggage and the stress involved in these types of games, it all just comes crashing down. It's not an awful performance by any means, but they've let it get away from them, and the problem was always getting the best players out into a system. And England had found a system, but with one piece missing, everything else just looks awful around it.
Yeah, there's not much confidence to take from that for England. You really wonder about the goalkeeping situation for the rest of the tournament. You wonder about USA and how they're going to perform in the group, and whether that affects England's actual potential to qualify from the group for the knockout stages. You look at Wayne Rooney and think, God, that was a uninspiring performance from him.
Lampard didn't really do much in the game. He was neat and tidy in parts. I mean, even Gerrard, who played well, you think, well, how much better would he be playing if he didn't have this thing of, I've got to go back and defend, because it had worked so well in the qualifying. You're really just trying to fill a lot of places. Well, he can play there and he can play there. And all of a sudden, Capello's doing what every other England manager's done in front of him. Just get the best players on the pitch and they'll sort it out.
Even that, though, you're looking at the defence and thinking, well, two of the options to replace Rio Ferdinand, Ledby King's not going to kick a ball again. You can't start Jamie Carragher.
Oh, he does. So he starts the...
No, because I remember Matthew Upson playing.
Yeah, so we'll get onto it in a second. But basically, we look at what USA did. The New York Post print headline is USA wins 1-1. Just fantastic. I love that.
That's good. That's better than easy.
By a mile. I mean, USA draw 2-2 in against Slovenia before a last-minute goal. Landon Donovan against Algeria sends them through in a group that they'd win as well. They'd go in above England, and they go on to play Ghana, losing extra time to Asamoah Gyan's goal.
Yeah, one of the great stories of that World Cup was Ghana's performance.
Yeah.
England, do we have to? Can we just wrap it all up here?
I mean, yeah, I'll go through this quickly. I mean, from here on out, it's an absolute near, it's just a near disaster of a campaign from here on. I mean,
Near's doing a lot of work there.
Yeah, okay, it's pretty much a disaster of a campaign. The England team, the press, the fans just go into complete panic mode, and all the issues that have been swept under the rug, they're there now. I mean, in the second game, England, participate in one of the worst World Cup games in living memory against Algeria.
One that we've both chosen to cover at some point.
Well,
though.
no, what people have said to us, you're going to do the Algeria game, and it's just like, do you want to put me through this? Like watching.
I think that is what it is, isn't it? It's like people enjoy, or for some unexplained reason, like a video of really graphic violence on the internet gets watched by people. It's almost like snuff, and it's like we're going to make you watch like the Bush Tucker trials on on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
I know it's not. I mean, Jamie Carragher starts that game as well, gets booked as well, so he's banned for the last World Cup group game as well. So England have to bring in Matthew Upson for the Slovenia game. Quite a few changes in that game as well. So Milner does start, but he starts out on the right. I think Joe Cole starts on the left. You've got Frank Lampard and Gerrard in the middle. And Jermaine Defoe starts and scores as well in that game. And I remember
that was a bad game though as well.
It was also a bad game, but it was also a big thing about Jermaine Defoe is going to play. He scores, he plays well. And England, I'm pretty sure they Slovenia miss a really big late chance as well to kind of keep England in it. And they go on to the next round. They go on to play Germany in one of the most controversial yet pathetic England exits from a tournament ever. A game which I actually really want us to cover.
I don't know, mate.
I think maybe I've got that morbid curiosity about that one. I just think I'm so removed from it now. It'd be quite fun to watch.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
Because of the controversy, as you say there.
I think at one point we will, because there's a couple of Germany games in the current timeline we're in now where England are playing Germany in the space of the year, and that will be one of the games we cover. So
yeah, I'm looking forward. I hope our next sort of few things are a bit more positive. I feel we've had a lot of a lot of punches to the gut in recent episodes.
Yeah, I think what I've got planned next, at least for what I'm thinking, one of the games I'm picking is definitely a big England performance, I think.
So was this England, Nick?
Yeah, this is very England. Optimistic build up to a tournament, comes crashing down to earth and just crushes us. 100% England.
100% England from me as well. The crazy squad selection. It's almost like a greatest hits of
Yeah.
is this England moments. You got an absolute calamity keeper. You got an injured star performer, underwhelming. You've got players going off injured. Just weird stuff happening. And yeah, 100%.
100% England. It says it on the packet there, doesn't it? This is.
There you go. There's not much else to add.
No.
Thank you for everyone who's listened and has been listening. If you want to follow us on social media, you can at @isvis_England. That's on Twitter and Instagram. If you wanted to get in touch with us via email, you can do. It's isthisenglandpod@gmail.com. Nick, I'll catch you soon for another one.
Yeah, definitely. See you next time. Thank you, everyone.